Italy is in serious trouble.
E così voglio lanciare un messaggio chiaro. Entrate illegalmente in Italia, sarete trattenuti e rimpatriati.
Until recently, Italy was associated with style, fast cars, and true power. After all, this is where Ferrari was designed and where the Roman Empire was born, a civilization that defined law and culture for an entire continent. Yet behind this beautiful facade lies a reality few want to talk about. Today, Italy is the true sick man of Europe. Unemployment, especially among the young, reaches 40% in some areas. The economy has barely moved in 15 years, and although the mafia's golden age has passed, it still pulls the strings. Italian cities still captivate tourists, but increasingly they are only a backdrop for a world that doesn't see what's happening inside. Before World War II, Italy was an agricultural and underdeveloped country, an authoritarian regime with a struggling economy. Western Europe had left Italy far behind. The war only deepened the crisis. The country was in ruins, literally and symbolically.
We furnished all the things that were necessary to restore Europe and make it self-supporting, which it is at this day. If it had not been for the Marshall Plan, I don't know what would have happened.
Thanks to the American Marshall Plan, Italy began to rebuild. Factories started again, but this time for people, not the army. Then came a new era. Fiat, Vespa, Alfa Romeo, fashion from Milan, fast cars, luxury and elegance. The whole world said one thing: made in Italy. Italy exported everything and everything sold. Cities expanded and the economy grew. It seemed nothing could stop it. Then came the crisis in 2008. The global financial crisis hit every country, but in Italy it stopped everything for good. More than 15 years have passed since then, and still there has been no new boom and no innovation. A country that was once Europe's pride now barely crawls forward. Italy still has the third largest economy in the Eurozone, but for years it has looked more like a sleeping giant than Europe's engine. Public debt has passed 140% of GDP, more than Greece had at the start of its 2010 crisis. Meanwhile, economic growth since 2008 has been virtually zero. The private sector is stagnant, and the state is choking on its own weight. Italy is a country of small businesses. On average, just 3.6 employees per company. That's simply too small to innovate or to compete with Germany or China. Even worse, about 12% of the Italian economy is off the books. And it's not just small vendors who skip receipts, it's something far more serious.
Perché io voglio combattere la mafia e chiedo a tutto lo Stato italiano e alle persone per bene di aiutarmi a combattere la mafia!
Mafias that for decades have run shadow empires. They no longer need guns or threats. Today, they operate through shell companies, real estate, fake contracts, and legitimate-looking businesses, like construction or tourism. Everything controlled by people absent from official documents, yet present in every public tender. Drug and extortion profits are laundered into hotels, apartments, and restaurants. Money circulates outside the tax system, while the state pretends not to see. The shadow economy in Italy isn't a margin. It's an alternative system, often more effective than the official one. And on top of that comes stagflation, the economist's worst nightmare. Prices rise, but the economy stands still. But one thing must also be remembered. Italy is one country only on paper. In reality, it is two completely different worlds. In the north, they have modern firms, innovation, and 5% unemployment. This is where cars, fashion, and high-tech ideas are made. But in the south, there's high unemployment, depopulation, and mafia influence. In some regions, almost half of young people have no work. For decades, the state tried to bridge these gaps, but it clearly failed. What unites Italy is language, cuisine, and history. But the daily life of someone in Naples and someone in Milan are two different realities. And on top of that, even if tomorrow the money and plans appeared, there would be too few people to make them real.
The mainstream propaganda machine predicted that a conservative government would have isolated Italy. They were wrong. The reality is that Italy is thriving. Employment is at a record high, our economy is growing, our fiscal policy is back on track, and the flow of illegal migration has decreased by 60% in the last year.
Italy is aging faster than any other country in Europe. The average resident is over 48 years old. According to the World Bank, fertility is just 1.2 children per woman. The rest of Europe isn't much better, but in Italy, the problem is deeper. It has lasted for decades. There are towns where not a single child is born for a year or two in a row. Schools close, clinics are turned into senior care points. The authorities are trying everything, running campaigns like Adopt Your Town, offering family bonuses, and providing tax breaks. But the truth is brutal. No one wants to live where there is no work and no future. Meanwhile, the pension system is cracking. Each retiree is supported by fewer and fewer working-age people. That means one thing: budget holes. The state subsidizes pensions every year, even as it drowns in debt. Over 140% of GDP. It's like trying to put out a fire with a barrel of gasoline. And this is not just a bookkeeping problem. It's not about percentages and forecasts. It's about whether the state can function at all. Who will work in hospitals? Who will bake bread? Without young people, everything simply stops. If the trend does not reverse, in 30 years, Italy may no longer resemble a functioning country. It will be more of a museum than a nation. And worse still, Italy has one of the highest rates of youth emigration in Europe. According to Istat, more than 100,000 citizens pack their bags and leave each year. These are people with degrees and ambition. For example, doctors go to Germany, engineers to the Netherlands, programmers to France and Scandinavia, just like Eastern Europeans did after joining the EU. Those who leave rarely return, and even if they wanted to, there's little to return to. And where the state disappears, something else fills the void. Sometimes it's the mafia, but sometimes it's a wave that no one really knows how to handle. Not long ago, Lampedusa was a postcard from paradise, a small island with crystal clear sea and peaceful towns. Today, it is a fortress under siege, the most overloaded border point of the European Union. In 2023, over 127,000 illegal migrants crossed the Mediterranean into Italy. Lampedusa declared a state of emergency. The Coast Guard was overwhelmed, and the local community felt abandoned. Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni tried to respond firmly: stricter asylum laws, a new deal with Tunisia to stop migrants, and a controversial plan to build deportation centers in Albania. The plan is to intercept migrants at sea or just hold them outside EU borders before they reach Italy. Brussels distances itself. International organizations speak of human rights violations, but Italians ask a different question. If the EU won't protect our borders, what is the point of being in it? Because this problem is no longer only about Lampedusa. The entire southern coast of Italy has become Europe's border, but with barely any help from Europe. Tensions start to rise in small towns. There are fights and sometimes even arson. These are some of the reasons Giorgia Meloni became Prime Minister in 2022.
Our freedom and our values and the pride we feel for them are the weapons our adversaries fear the most. So we can't give up the strength of our own identity, for that would be the best gift we can make to authoritarian regimes.
Her slogans are simple and sharp. Italy for Italians, no more capitulation to Brussels. The state must return to its borders. Rhetoric that just a few years ago seemed radical, but now is the voice of millions. Meloni rose on the back of three crises: migration, demographics, and the economy. She says what many Italians think, but what no one before dared to say aloud. She doesn't talk about the future. She talks about the loss of control and identity. After all, it's not over yet. Italy still has enormous cultural, economic, and geographic potential, but to use it, the country needs a plan, not words, but concrete decisions. First of all, less bureaucracy and more freedom for small and medium-sized businesses. This sector creates the most jobs, but in Italy, it is suffocated by forms and permits that discourage action. Italy can and should tap into EU cohesion funds and programs like Next Generation EU. Some funds are already approved, but much remains unused or inefficiently spent. Efficiency and oversight are key, so that the money won't end up in mafia hands or disappear in paperwork, because the mafia must be cut off from the flow of money. Not just with high-profile arrests, but through transparent public tenders and real penalties for corruption. If the state wants to rebuild trust, it must first dismantle these parallel systems.
L'Italia non è in guerra contro nessuno. Mi opporrò sempre in qualunque sede all'invio anche di un solo militare italiano a combattere e a morire in Ucraina. Non voglio che I miei figli crescano con la paura della terza guerra mondiale.
Italy will not be saved by miracles or slogans, but by courage and a long-term strategy, one that finally treats the country as a shared project and not a minefield for every next government. Yet, these problems are not Italy's alone. Many other countries may face even harsher consequences. You can learn more about it in the video currently displayed on your screen.